High blood glucose on carnivore. This is something that I get asked about a lot. And so today we're going to go over high blood sugar on carnivore. Why should you listen to me? I was featured on the first ever carnivore TV show, Reverse TV series. I have a PhD in nutrition and exercise physiology from the University of Miami, master's in nutrition dietetics, licensed dietitian, taught for over a decade at the University of Miami in the American College of Sports Medicine, coached hundreds of clients, and you can check out the testimonials on my website. And also, I walk the talk. So I've lost 30 pounds and I've maintained it. Now, let's dive right in. One of the main reasons that I've noticed consistently in clients who have high fasted blood glucose levels on carnivore is that those are usually clients that tend not to do physical activity. So, no cardio and no strength training. So if you notice that you've been doing carnivore strict for a period of time and your fasted blood glucose levels is in the early hundreds, so 100 milligrams per deciliter or above, check your physical activity. Do you have a well formulated exercise program? That might be it for you. Another cohort of clients might be doing too lean of protein sources. So there's something called rapid starvation where cortisol levels go up and you really get into a negative health cycle, especially after 2 weeks of not consuming fat and just eating very lean protein. And that can obviously trigger an increase in blood glucose because cortisol and just stress is really high. So I would try increasing the amount of dietary fat that you're ingesting. Also, I've seen low BMI, so very lean individuals that do strict carnivore for a long period of time. Might lead to sometimes hormonal imbalances. We're not 100% sure at this point. Again, we really do need a lot more data, randomized controlled trials that are looking at long term strict carnivores in the modern world. We don't really have a lot of those yet. So this might be something to pay attention to. Do you feel like you're under eating and you're bordering on underweight? Your BMI is getting really, really low? That might affect cortisol levels. Your hormones might get affected. Are you losing hair? Is your thyroid getting sluggish? That also has consistently been shown to correlate with an elevation in fasted blood glucose levels. Also, I've seen a case in which a woman couldn't lose weight no matter what she did on the carnivore until she cut out coffee and her continuous glucose monitor numbers normalized. So, what's a CGM or a continuous glucose monitor? You basically plug that in and it measures you have to insert it and it measures your fat, your blood sugars nonstop for days on end, usually for around 2 weeks, and that can show you your usual blood glucose variations. So, the interesting thing about this case is that it happened to her weight gain, and she couldn't lose weight only after menopause. So, she was doing carnivore before menopause and she was fine. But then once she hit menopause, all of a sudden, coffee became the culprit. So she lost actually 6 pounds in 1 week just by cutting out the coffee after trying for 6 months all kinds of stuff like removing dairy, controlling for calories, even, and fasting, and all those things. And the weight is just almost impossible to remove until she cut out coffee. So if that might be an issue for you, check it out. And the way you can tell is by checking your blood glucose, especially after you drink coffee, and see if it's spiking. And that's what was happening with her because she got a CGM. It was spiking every time she would drink coffee so much, and that was blocking her weight loss. Also, make sure you have a stable blood glucose using CGM because if you can get your hands on a continuous glucose monitor, that can give us a lot of data. You want to have a stable blood glucose. So even if your blood glucose generally tends to be a little bit higher than what we would like, normally we like it to be like in the 70s or in the 80s or even early 90s. But if it's above 100, at least look to see if there are variations, like wild variations, plus or minus 50 milligrams per deciliter. Usually it's like if it's higher than 50, if it's going up by 50 milligrams per day, then we might have an issue. And then your high fasted blood glucose level might be a problem. If the CGM reveals that your usual blood glucose levels are always in the same range, even if you have an elevated fasted blood glucose, like let's say 105 milligrams per deciliter, and that might not really be a problem, especially if you don't have any symptoms of chronic stress. You're sleeping through the night, you're feeling great. That might not be a problem. We're still learning a lot about human physiology and how it might be different on people who are long-term strict carnivores. Also, this is a really interesting study that looked at how the physiology of glucose metabolism in carnivores might be different, in carnivores versus mammals or animals that consume carbohydrates. This study was done, I know it was done on dolphins and cats, but still, I think there's a wealth of data in this study. So this study went over how dolphins and cats are carnivores, and they mainly eat a high protein, high fat diet with a very minimal carbohydrate intake. And they always have high blood glucose levels, especially when they're not eating carbs or they're fasting for a long period of time. Their blood glucose levels go up. So that is something to pay attention to. Maybe that's a normal metabolism. Maybe there's nothing to worry about because the physiology of a strict carnivore might be different than the physiology of a species that does consume carbohydrate. And if you enjoy this kind of content, check out this next video on a 3-day carnivore diet meal plan. Whether you're just starting out or you just need new ideas of meals to eat on a carnivore diet, check out this video that I will make sure I linked at the end of this video. And if you are looking for one-on-one coaching with me, it's on drzaldivar.com/coaching. And if you want to check out my guides, especially, I would highly recommend looking into the Brain Bundle, which are guides that raise your baseline dopamine levels. So the Brain Bundle contains 3 very important guides that goes over my 3-pronged approach to raise baseline dopamine levels. You have Dopamine Brain, which dissects my brain rehab protocol and looks into how exercise can be used to raise baseline dopamine levels, not regular dopamine, baseline dopamine. And then it's got Monster Mindset Guide, which has a form of visualization that I fine-tuned. It's got 2 different types of visualizations, energy visualizations and training visualizations. Both of those terms I coined, and I introduced them in the Monster Mindset Guide. And in it, you will see how those visualization sessions can increase dopamine levels by 65%. And then consistent training with those visualization sessions can also raise your baseline dopamine, not just phasic or like the instantaneous release of dopamine. That's easy. So many things can do that, right? What we want is to raise baseline dopamine in order to be able to stick to our diets, whatever diet you choose, so that we don't have cravings and so that we can improve our energy and motivation levels. And then the third guide is Monster Mind, the supplements that can also help you raise baseline dopamine levels. Thank you so much for watching. If you have ideas and questions about things that I could cover, drop them in the comment section below and I will make sure that I cover them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.